Hi everyone, we are excited to have you here in today's fun-filled learning session at Uolo. Here is a quick look at how you can submit your work after the class. As a first step, go to live.uolo.com. You can use any browser to access this site. On this page, you will see a list of all our classes. Scroll down and you can see the Submit Your Work button. And then you will see a list of the classes that you've last attended, which could, for example, show the dance or craft or science experiment classes you've attended recently. Next, it will show you the list of children whose names are registered in this mobile number. Choose your name from this list to submit your work. For instance, if you are Satvik Kumar, choose that name. And then choose the class for which you would like to make your submission. For example, if you've attended the New Year's Masquerade Party session and you'd like to make the submission for this class, click on the Submit Your Work button below that. And then upload the photo you've taken. Choose the image from your phone and click Submit. You can scroll down and view all your past submissions and see how many of your friends or peers have liked your work. You can also see others' work and like their work to inspire your friends. If you want to showcase your work on social media, that too is very simple. Click on Share, copy the link and post it on Instagram or Facebook or any other platform of your choice. Just a tiny reminder, your submission looks a lot better if you could click a photo in the landscape mode rather than the portrait mode. Do not forget to tag us at YOLO_app. I'm eagerly looking forward to all your submissions right after this class.
Hey kids, how are you doing? Welcome to today's class. Now, before we get started with what we're going to go ahead and do today, let's go ahead and discuss a couple of things. Firstly, did you have a look at the submission video and did it make sense to you on how to go ahead and make the submissions for all of the classes that you've been going ahead and attending? Now, apart from that, let's go ahead and discuss a couple of things. Firstly, I want to go ahead and discuss about the feedback program. Then I want to go ahead and discuss about the certificate program, and then we can get started with today's class. So firstly, the feedback program. What is the feedback program? Have you been getting your feedback? Okay, so the feedback program is a very, very, very simple program wherein you will go ahead and get a personalized feedback from me. Now, you will get the feedback only if a couple of things are followed. That is, A, you need to go ahead and make your submission. B, try to make it as amazing as possible because only the top 10 students who get selected as part of that class's submission will get personalized feedback. Now, what kind of feedback will I be giving and how is it important? So the feedback that I'll be basically going ahead and giving will be of two kinds. Firstly is going to be positive feedback. Positive feedback is going to be basically me identifying all of the skills that you're good at. I can identify that you're good at this, good at that, good at that. I can go ahead and tell you that, and I will tell you to work on that and continue working on that because I know that that skill works for you. And if you take it forward, then you can become a very, very good artist or whatever I'm teaching you in that class in those terms. The second feedback that I'll be going ahead and giving you is a form of critical feedback. Critical feedback is the opposite of positive feedback, wherein I'll be identifying a few errors, a few mistakes here and there, which if you go ahead and improve, will just automatically make you a better artist or whatever that is I'm going ahead and teaching you in that class. So, the feedback is very, very vital, mainly in terms of the fact that if I give you this feedback and you actually go ahead and work on it, then you will be able to do well, you'll be able to do better, you will be able to improve on the skill that you already have. So always take feedback irrespective of which class it is. Just go ahead and try getting that feedback if you get a chance to. Now, apart from that, let's go ahead and talk about the certificate program. Now, the certificate program, like you all know, you're already getting certificates for all of the classes that you are attending. But just a few things to keep in mind. A, don't go ahead and miss any class of any particular course. For example, you are doing sketching right now, don't miss any class of the sketching course. Now, the reason being is if you go ahead and attend every class, then we know that you're going ahead and learning each and everything that we're trying to teach you. So, attending each class is very important. And apart from attending the class in general, it is very, very important for you to do all of the submissions. Now, why is it important for you to do the submissions? Very, very simple. If you go ahead and do all of your submissions, then what will happen is we'll have sort of like an identification that you're learning the skill that we're actually teaching you. So if we know that you're learning the skill and you're going ahead and attending all of your classes, then automatically we have enough and more reason to go ahead and give you a certificate. So just keep these couple of pointers in mind. You definitely want to go ahead and get the certificate, right? And if you don't know why you have to go ahead and get the certificate, let me give you a little bit of an idea. You can go ahead and show it to your teachers, your colleagues, your friends, a parent, whoever it is, who's going to ask you, what are the skills that you have? What are the things that you've learned? What are the things you're capable of doing? So then having a certificate to provide and show them, see, this is my capability, this is what I've learned, this is what I do, is great. So it'll go ahead and you be that form of identification, be that form of proof. So go ahead and get that certificate and give it to everybody. Now, apart from that, one thing that I have honestly started telling everybody and have noticed is very, very, very important is about the fact of submissions. Now, a lot of you, a lot of the times might not be doing in a particular class. It may be because you didn't understand the concept very well, maybe because you've done it for the first time and it's a little confusing to go ahead and do, maybe because you were tired that day, maybe you were not feeling that well, or you were a little bit lazy. Now, it doesn't matter what the reason was for you to not go ahead and do a particularly good job in that class, but one thing to keep in mind is, irrespective of what you've done, whether you've done an amazing job, whether you've done an excellent job, whether you've gone ahead and an average job, whether you've done a very, very bad job, it doesn't matter. I want you to go ahead and make your submission irrespective of whatever is going on. Now, the reason behind this basically is that if you go ahead and make the submission, then what will happen is us as teachers will see the progression of how you're doing in general. So if I'm looking at you do the sketching class in the first class, and I'm going to go ahead and see the second class, third class, fourth class, fifth class, then what will happen is I'll be able to identify that progress. Now, let's say that you weren't doing that well in your first class, but versus in the fifth class or the sixth class, I can see the improvement. Then I will be like, able to point out where are the places that you're learning better, what are you doing better. I want to go ahead and see that progress. I want to connect with you individually, and in order to do that, I look at all of your submissions, because it's the best way wherein I can see whether you're understanding the concept that I'm teaching or not. So make sure you go ahead and do your submission, because that is going to be like the most important thing in the whole game, of learning and teaching. It's always about communication, it's always about interaction. So for me to be able to know that you're learning is for me to go ahead and see your submission and see the improvement. Some days I know I can understand you might be doing excellent on all of your classes. One day your class or your work is not that great. Completely all right. I've been looking at your work for the past so many weeks, and I've been seeing you're doing a good job, and one day you suddenly don't do that well. It's completely all right. I will totally understand that that day maybe you're not doing so well. So it's completely okay. So make sure you go ahead and do all of your submissions for me to be able to identify whether you're learning, whether you're doing a good job, what your progress is like, whether you're having a dull day, a good day, whatever it is. I want to know. So go ahead and make all of your submissions. Now let's go ahead and talk about what we're going to go and do in today's class, and then we can move on to the list of materials. What we're going to go ahead and do today is we're going to go ahead and do pencil shading of a vase. Now, if you remember, in the last class, we went ahead and did a bowl, and previously before that, we went ahead and did a teacup. Now, the reason we're going to go ahead and do a vase today, even though it's very similar to your teacup and your bowl, a lot of you must be wondering, what is the difference? We are obviously pointing out light from one direction. We're going ahead and shading light, medium, dark, and we're going ahead and doing the shadow. So what is the difference? Now, if you remember the difference between your bowl and your teacup, the concept was the change in direction of light. Now, in the teacup, the light was coming from straight angle, but from your bowl, it was coming from side angle, and what happens in that case. And we also learned how to go ahead and do a shadow. Now, in today's class, what we're going to go ahead and do is, a vase is actually normally has two parts in it. Even if it's a curvy vase like this, or it has like sections in it, a vase normally has two parts. Now, we've learned how to go ahead and shade a curve, but have we learned how to go ahead and shade two parts and then add a shadow to it? Not necessarily, right? So which is what I want to go ahead and actually work on today. doing the two parts and going ahead and actually shading that out, because the more parts that are added, the more confusing the illustration or drawing gets. You can go ahead and obviously mark it out in terms of how I've been teaching you, but the general concept of finishing it, the concept of making it look realistic, the end final points are what is completely different and is very important to know whenever you're bringing any sketching piece to life. So that is what the concept of today's class is going to be. So now let's go ahead and get started with the list of materials that you need for today's class. All right. So the first thing that you need for today's class is going to be a sheet of paper. Like we've been generally going ahead and using a sheet of paper. So you need to go ahead and take either an A4 size sheet of paper, go ahead and take any unruled sheet of paper, go ahead and take a loose drawing sheet of paper, or take a drawing book, journal book, sketchbook, whatever you have with you will work absolutely well. The next thing that you need for today's class is obviously going to be the pencil that we generally need to go ahead and shade with. Now here I have a nice dark pencil. Always make sure you have a nice dark pencil, because if you have a light pencil, what will happen is it won't look that great. Your shading won't turn out that great, and it can be a little, confusing, and it can be a little light, so it won't look that great right at the end. Now let's go ahead and get started with today's drawing. Now, like we always go ahead and draw a little bit of a small illustration on top before we get started. And that's what we're going to go ahead and actually start off with today as well, doing the small illustration. Now, one thing that I want to bring to your notice before we go ahead and do that illustration bit is whenever we do a small portion, there are small finesse points or small places where we cannot go ahead and mark out always that this is going to be light, this is going to be dark, this is going to be medium. Now for our first two classes, because the shading was very, very simple, there was no complication in it, or there were no random edges of a dark tone, medium tone, light tone. The small sample always helped. Now in today's class as well, we'll be going ahead and doing the small sample in order to sort of create a identification of where we have to do the majority of shading. But in the end, you'll have to go ahead and add in some other shading bits to make your piece realistic. So don't always rely only on that small bit, especially when it comes to complicated shadings. It's a good identification of where all your shading is going to go. But if you want a proper identification, I would rather say maybe first draw a duplicate version, that is draw a big version, mark out everything, and then draw a one more big version. But in this class, we're just going to go ahead and do a small version and then a big version. Now in today's class, you can go ahead and actually draw the small version alongside me. Normally, I tell you not to go ahead and draw it. But the reason I'm going to go ahead and ask you to draw it is because I'm going to teach you how to draw a vase in a specific manner. If you practice it once with the small one and then once with the big one, you'll get a good idea on how to go ahead and do it. Sometimes this technique can be a little confusing to some individuals. So just don't get flustered or anything. It's very easy. Just go step by step alongside me. Okay, so first thing I'm going to go ahead and do, take your pencil and draw the top part of your vase. Now, first, before that, what we're going to go ahead and do is we're going to go ahead and draw a standing line like so. So you can see I've gone ahead and done a standing line like so. That's going to be your first step. Perfect. And we're drawing a small version, so make sure it's small on the side. You're not taking up the whole page. Perfect. Now, once you've gone ahead and done that, I want to go ahead and do the top part like I was saying. So you can see I'm just going ahead and doing a small curve like this. I'm just doing sort of like an oval on top. So just very, very simple. Now here, the reason I'm making you do it once is because your vase can turn out to be not as pretty in the beginning, because you need to go ahead and practice this out a bit. So, it can be a little not that pretty, but that's okay. So standing line and do your curve on top. Perfect. Excellent. Good job, everybody. Very, very well done. Perfect. Great. All right. Good job. So since everybody's gone ahead and done with that, now we can move on to the next step. For the next step, what I want you to go ahead and do is I want you to go ahead and draw a line at the bottom over there. Now what we're going to go ahead and do is we're going to use that line sort of as a marking for drawing these slanting lines. Now normally what you could probably go ahead and do is draw the slanting lines directly and then draw the straight line. But the reason I drew the straight line first is because I want it to be equidistant on either side. From the center line, it should be equal on this side and equal on that side. So to approximately get a measurement, I've gone ahead and done that sleeping line. Perfect. Great job, everybody. Well done. Perfect. Good. All right. Now let's move on to the next part. For the next part, what I'm going to go ahead and do is I'm going to go ahead and do a base curve. Now for the smaller one, I have not gone ahead and done one particular step, which I will go ahead and do as part of the bigger one. But this is the smaller one, so I have not bothered doing that step. So just go ahead and follow what I'm doing right now. So go ahead and do a small line. Perfect. Okay, and go ahead and do a big line right there in the center. All right. So you can see I've gone ahead and created sort of like a plus. It looks almost like a man, right? With a head on top and like his hands and legs out. Yes. So this is the basic step that we're going to go ahead and follow. Now, what we are basically trying to do is the top part that we've already drawn is sort of like the insertion part or the opening part of our base, and the bottom part where we've drawn our plus is going to be sort of like a curve. Now, what happens whenever we are drawing big curves? So for example, if you're drawing a bowls curve or something, it can be a little easier. It isn't that hard because you know you're going ahead and doing this. So it's okay. But when you're drawing curves like this for vases and stuff, it can be a little hard. So going ahead and having a guideline makes it easier. So what I mean by a guideline is you're going to go ahead and start from here, do a curve, and then do another curve. Then same thing here, curve and another curve. So what happens is it makes it easier to go ahead and draw. So let's go ahead and do that step. So you can see I'm going ahead and joining curve and curve. Perfect. So using that point, you have to go ahead and use that point. And the same thing on the other side, curve and curve. Perfect. So now if you look at it, you can see you have a perfect vase drawn over there. It wasn't that hard to go ahead and do. Now last bit, we're going to go ahead and add in a line at the bottom to sort of complete our vase right there. Perfect. So I'm just going to wait here for a second, make sure everybody's done with their work. Perfect. Excellent job, everybody. Very, very well done. Good. Perfect. Great. All right. So now since everybody's gone ahead and finished up with their drawing of the vase, we can go ahead and now move on to the actual marking of the light, medium, dark. So what we're going to go ahead and do is we're going to keep it simple. We're going to go ahead and mark out our light coming out from the right hand side. Nothing complicated. I'm going to go ahead and do 3 arrows to identify it. Perfect. So like always, like we're going to go ahead and do the light, medium, dark marking. So I'm going to go ahead and do circles again, like we normally do. So for the top part, we're going to go ahead and break it up into lines. And for the bottom part, we're going to go ahead and break it up into circles like this. So you can see I'm doing light, medium, and dark. For the top part, I'm doing a bunch of lines. So there you go. The marking is done. And I'm lighting light, medium, dark over there. Perfect. So the first curve will always be light, second curve medium, last curve dark. Same thing for the top, light, medium, and dark. Now, like I mentioned, the small finesses on how to go ahead and do it, we'll go ahead and do when you're actually shading. But this is the basic concept of it, which you already know. Now, the difference is going to be in terms of the bowl and the vase, or the teacup and the vase is going to be that we have 2 sections or probably 3 sections in this vase, which is the top part, middle part, and the down part. Now, if you just go ahead and do dark, light, medium, dark, light, medium, dark, will it look like a realistic vase? Maybe not. So what will happen is it won't look like a realistic vase because that division that is there between the two won't actually show. It won't look like there is a different part of the vase. It'll just look like it's one vase. So how do you make it look different? What is the shading that you add in for that? That is what we're going to go ahead and learn. So now let's get started with the next part of it, because I've seen everybody's gone ahead and finished their work and it's looking very, very nice. Perfect, everybody. Good, let's go. So again, we're going to follow the same technique for going ahead and shading, going ahead and starting with the center line right here. Now here, if you want to go ahead and use a scale, by all means, go ahead and use one. There's no hard and fast rule that you have to go ahead and do this, by yourself. And now I'm going ahead and doing the top section like so. Perfect. So this is going to be your first step. Go ahead and do it. I'm just going to wait here for a second while all of you go ahead and perfect this step out. Excellent job, everybody. Doing amazing. Perfect. Perfect. Great. Good job, everybody. Excellent. All right. So since everybody's gone ahead and done with this, let's move on to the next part of it. So we're going to go ahead and do the straight line like I showed you, and we're going to go ahead and join it. Now, remember, this is a bigger version of this. So make sure that you're getting everything equidistant, because you can see it's a lot more bigger. So you have more space for correction. The smaller one, you didn't have that much space for correction. So make sure you do it well. Perfect. Excellent job, everybody. Now, next part, going ahead and drawing the bottom line. And then I'll go ahead and draw the top line as well, which is maybe actually not top line, the center line, I would call it. Center line. Perfect. Now, one thing that I'm going to go ahead and do when I'm doing this ways as compared to that one is I'm going to have sort of like a pointed round edge. I'm not going to specifically have a completely round edge because it's too big. So sometimes having a pointed area makes it easier. So I'm going to go ahead and do it a little pointed. So now joining one by one. So going curve from this half to that half. And then I'm going curve from the center to out. So you can see that little bit of a point has come in this drawing, which is completely fine. No problem for that. Now, same thing on the other side, curve and curve. There you go. So simple. Now, don't worry if you have too much of a point or something going on over there. While shading, you can obviously go ahead and correct it out. If in any case at this point of time, your bottle or your vase is looking asymmetric, go ahead and correct it out right now. In any spot you feel like, no, it's not looking the best, I feel like I need to go ahead and correct it out, go ahead and correct it out. There's no issue on that. I'm going to wait for you right here. Perfect. All right, I'm looking at everybody's faces. It's looking good. Excellent job, everybody. Perfect. So now what we're going to go ahead and do is we're going to go ahead and draw the down part. And once I draw the down part, I'm going to go ahead and erase that center line out. So the plus line and the standing line on top. Now the reason I'm going ahead and erasing it out is because while shading, especially if you're doing a light tone, medium tone, whatever tone, it should not come in the way. So I'm just going ahead and erasing it out so that it doesn't necessarily come in the way. So really, really simple, just erasing it out. Perfect. Great job, everybody. Very, very well done. Excellent. All right. Good. Okay. So I can see that everybody is done with their work. Now we can go ahead and actually get started with the shading part of it. Now for the shading part, like you all know, we always start with the dark tone. I'm going to be starting with the dark tone as well. So first we're going to go ahead and take our pencil. And we're going to, just draw out any of the lines that are missing here and there. So if you have any lines missing here and there, go ahead and draw that out. And then we can go ahead and get started with our dark tone. Perfect. Now let's get started. I'm going to go ahead and start with the top part first. Here you can see I'm going ahead and doing the dark part. Now here you can go ahead and do it from this side to this side or top to bottom. It's completely up to you. You can go ahead and do it in whatever manner. But make sure when you're doing the dark tone or the medium tone or the light tone, whatever it is, too many lines don't show up. What I mean by lines is you don't have patches wherein it's looking separate from one another. So don't have like in dark you have separate patches. Make it just look all dark and then make it look all medium and then make it look all light. So don't make it look like there is a patch in the dark which is medium, or in the medium there is a light, or in the light there is a medium. Don't make that happen. Make sure your work is dark, medium, light, and it's clean and clear. Even if there are patches or lines between the dark, medium, light, that's fine. Just make sure you make it look like there's a dark medium. medium light. Perfect. So there I have my dark tone done. Excellent job, everybody. Good job. I'm looking at everybody's work. It's looking nice. Perfect. Great, everybody. Excellent. Now we can go ahead and move on to my medium tone. So now I'm going ahead and doing my medium tone. So here again, you can follow whichever way you want to go ahead and shade. If you want to go ahead and do standing or sleeping, whichever way, go ahead and do it. No hard and fast rule in this. Now, one thing to keep in mind when you're shading this, look at the drawing that we have on the side over there. The top portion is going to have more dark versus the bottom part, and the top portion is going to have more medium as compared to the bottom part. Same thing with the light. The top portion is going to have more light as compared to the bottom. So be clean with that part of your shading. Great. All right, everybody's done. Let's move on to the light portion of it. So you can see I'm just going ahead and nicely going ahead and finishing up my light tone. Perfect. All right. Now, one thing, if you noticed over there, I went ahead and added in a little bit of medium tone right here. Now, can anybody think about why I went ahead and did that? All right, so the reason why I went ahead and did that was because it's basically like a curve. Now, if you remember your teacup or you remember your bowl, the top portion of it, we always went ahead and did a little dark. So that's why I went ahead and did the same exact thing to add a little bit of dimension. Perfect. Excellent job, everybody. All right, now let's move on to the bottom part of it. Now here again, we're going to go ahead and do our dark tone. Now, like I have told you several times, go ahead and do big patches, in different sections. So don't want to go ahead and do the whole large dark patch as one like this. Go ahead and do it in small sections. So you can see I'm doing section number 1. Then I'm going to move on to section number 2 and slowly going to go ahead and do it. Then I'm going to move on to section number 3, then section number 4, section number 5. So do as many as you need. It's completely all right to do it slowly and neatly. If you have a large enough hand span to go ahead and do multiple and do big patches, then great. If not, do little. It's completely fine to do a little. So you can see I'm nicely cleaning out my dark tone over there. I have a nice clean border for my dark tone done. Perfect. Excellent, everybody. Good job. Very, very well done. Perfect. Okay, good job, everybody. Now we can move on to our medium tone. Now, medium tone, all of you already know how to go ahead and do. It's actually very easy and simple. So starting off with my medium tone. Now here I'm going to go ahead and change my direction. You don't have to go ahead and do it. It was just more comfortable for me to go ahead and change my direction of shading. No hard and fast rule. Just make sure, like I told you, if you're changing your direction, just make sure that it's blended. Right now you can see it looks like one patch to patch. So I'm just going to make sure that I blend those two out. The way I'll blend it out basically is I'll go ahead and do a curve from that side now to make it look blended. So you can see I'm just curving that out to make it look blended. Here it's completely up to you. You could have started with the curves first, or you could have gone ahead and done it the way I did. It's completely normal, whichever direction you want to follow. Just make it look neat right after the end. Make it look blended and good. Perfect. So you can see now half of it is done with medium tone. Very, very simple. Perfect, guys. Excellent job, everybody. Very, very, very well done. Great. Okay, perfect. Now we can move on to our light tone. Starting off with my light tone, I'm going to go ahead and do the same exact thing. Be a little comfortable first of shading out a little bit of the background, and then I'll go ahead and do again a little bit of shading on top to just make it look all blended out and neat. So bigger sections, like I said, do it in batches. Take your time and do it. You don't have to do it, really, really fast or anything. So you can see I've gone ahead and done that. Now I'm taking my long stride and slowly going ahead and making sure that it's all blended. So you can see I just did a few strokes over there. I didn't really go ahead and do a lot of shading or anything right there. So just did a few strokes. Now, if you look at the base, we have a top portion and we have a bottom portion. But do the top and the bottom portion look like they are different sections? Does it look like it's like this and then you have a globe. Not really, they just look like it's going in one direction as is, which I do not want it to look like. I want there to be a bifurcation between the two. So firstly, let's go ahead and actually finish that bottom part out. Okay, let's do the top part out and we'll go ahead and do the shading right there. So you can see I'm going ahead and creating that bifurcation. So I added in a line over there and I shaded it out. Okay, let me go back so that I don't skip through too much. Going ahead and doing just the curve right there. Perfect. So if you look at it, really, really simple. I've gone ahead and added in that dark portion on the top. Now the dark portion can be done either on top or bottom, whatever you like. Now the reason being is because what will happen is if you do it at the bottom, it will still look like two different pieces. If you do it on the top, it will still look like two different pieces. So whichever way, just go ahead and add in a little bit of dark. Perfect. So next you could see I was going ahead and taking it onto the side over there. Now the reason I was going ahead and taking it on the side is because when a vase or anything curves, it adds a little bit of darkness to it. So that's what I've gone ahead and done at the bottom as well. I want to create that depth for the bottom section as well to be separated. So you can see I'm going ahead and adding in that little bit of darkness. For the top part, we added a small bit because the section was small. But for the bottom part, since the section is much bigger, that is the portion of it is much bigger, you want to go ahead and add in a bigger patch. So now look here, if I'm doing it, it's just a simple line. But here we have a bigger patch because it is much bigger. Look at the size of this. So I went ahead and did a bigger patch right here. So go ahead and do that. I'm just waiting for you to finish that up. Excellent job, everybody. Very, very well done. Perfect. All right. So now we can go ahead and do the bottom part of it. Again, just do simple dark, medium, light over here. Nothing complicated, nothing exhausting or nothing hard at all. So just going ahead and doing my simple dark, medium, and light. Now for the top part, if you remember the teacup or the bowl, you remember we always go ahead and add in a little bit of shading to just finish it up and add that little bit of dimension. So I'm going to go ahead and do that as well, just adding in a little bit of shading from the top to the inside to make it look like it's part of it and it's not completely white and empty. Perfect. Done. Very, very good. Now we are mostly done with this. I'm just going to wait here for a second. And while I am waiting for you, I'm just going to explain the shadow out to you. If you remember the bowl, we went ahead and did a straight shadow on the bottom of our page. Now we're going to go ahead and do the same exact thing for this. But one thing to make sure is if the object that you have is taller, for example, this vase is much taller, then have your shadow that is slanting out also much bigger, because you can't have a small shadow for such a big object or subject. So if you have a coconut tree, you will have a large or good shadow for it. You can have small shadows, but that is in different cases, so that we'll discuss in another class. But for now, we just go ahead and make sure you have a long enough shadow. So here you can see I'm going to go ahead and start doing the shadow now. So here just going ahead and doing a nice thin line of shading. As you can see, just simple line of shading. And then what I'm going to go ahead and do is closer to my vase, I'm going to go ahead and add in a dark tone. And as we go further away, I'm going to go ahead and let it be a little bit of a mediumish light tone. So whatever it is right now, I'll just let it be as that. Perfect. So now look at how beautiful and realistic this vase is looking. Amazing job, everybody. You've done such a good job. I'm so proud of all of you today. Very well done. Excellent. All right. So I'm just going to wait here for a second, making sure everybody's gone ahead and finished up, and then we can go ahead and wind up with today's class. Well done. Excellent job. Very, very well done. Perfect. Okay, everybody's done an excellent job. Good job, everybody. I'm so happy with how everybody's done their work today. Excellent, excellent job. So proud of all of you. Now, before we end today's class, just a few reminders. Make sure you go ahead and try to get a certificate. So do your submissions, attend all of your classes. Secondly, go ahead and try getting a chance to get that feedback from the feedback program. And lastly, do your submission irrespective of how good or bad your work is for that day. We want to watch your progress. We want to see how well you're doing. Your friends want to see how well you're doing. So make sure you do your submission irrespective. I'm so happy that you joined in with today's class and you learned something new. That is, you learned something further, more advanced. So very, very, very good job. We have two more classes of this sketching course to do. In the next class as well, we'll take up another, subject object, and there's going to be a different concept that we learn with it. And in the final class, we're actually going to go ahead and do a bunch of, objects together, which is going to be really fun and exciting. So I hope you are excited for that class as well, and the next class as well, because I am super excited. So I'll see you guys in the next one. I hope you had a nice day and, have a good one. Bye-bye. Have a look at the submission video now.
Hi everyone, we are excited to have you here in today's fun-filled learning session at Uolo. Here is a quick look at how you can submit your work after the class. As a first step, go to live.uolo.com. You can use any browser to access this site. On this page, you will see a list of all our classes. Scroll down and you can see the Submit Your Work button. And then you will see a list of the classes that you've last attended, which could, for example, show the dance or craft or science experiment classes you've attended recently. Next, it will show you the list of children whose names are registered in this mobile number. Choose your name from this list to submit your work. For instance, if you are Satvik Kumar, choose that name. And then choose the class for which you would like to make your submission. For example, if you've attended the New Year's Masquerade Party session and you'd like to make the submission for this class, click on the Submit Your Work button below that. And then upload the photo you've taken. Choose the image from your phone and click Submit. You can scroll down and view all your past submissions and see how many of your friends or peers have liked your work. You can also see others' work and like their work to inspire your friends. If you want to showcase your work on social media, that too is very simple. Click on Share, copy the link and post it on Instagram or Facebook or any other platform of your choice. Just a tiny reminder, your submission looks a lot better if you could click a photo in the landscape mode rather than the portrait mode. Do not forget to tag us at Uolo_app. I'm eagerly looking forward to all